Hey guys, what's going on? Massivebeatzz here, checking in with the UltraLite mk5. My opinion on it, really quick, a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Well, my last video posted was about the Antelope Audio Zengo, and I gave it a, yeah, it's pretty good rating, but it isn't for me conclusions. So I want to be a little bit quicker with the UltraLite mk5. Let me tell you, yes, there are many reasons why you should get that, and I'll tell you why. This is just checked my boxes, you know. All right, so here we go. Really good because headphone impedance is very low. The best quality headphone outputs, or a sign of a good quality headphone amp, is a low headphone impedance. UltraLite mk5 is fantastic in that regards. It's got these ESS chips, great quality. You would feel hard pressed to having to use an external headphone amp for that. Thumbs up on that. Antelope Audio has a high headphone impedance, so not great in that regard, even though it sounds pretty fantastic, even though on the headphones. But the UltraLite mk5 sounds pretty close, maybe a little bit better. The other thing is latency. The latency on the UltraLite mk5 is fantastic. Yeah, it is. Why is it fantastic? Well, they have their own drivers. They're writing their own drivers also for the Mac, so you're not relying on class compliant stuff. Antelope, Universal Audio, SSL, all the other guys, they have pretty good latency over USB, whatever, 2.0, USB-C, USB 3.1, whatever you want to call it, 3.0. Pretty good. Comes down to like 2.3, 2.9 milliseconds on the Ultra, which is super quick. So that means you can upscale to 128 buffer size, even 256, and still have almost, you don't feel a latency when plugging in a guitar through a virtual guitar amp or bass amp. That is why the UltraLite mk5 was a contender for me. And then the third thing is the ins and the outs. So it's got two microphone preamp inputs, and that is also guitar input, line, high Z input, bass, whatever, instrument input. But then in the back, you got all these line inputs, and you got all these line outputs, and you got digital in and out. So something the SSL doesn't have, something the Antelope Audio doesn't have. It doesn't have as many inputs. You're stuck with two. The only way to do this is with the Universal Audio X4, the Twin X, forget about it. It's got nothing in that regard. So the MOTU is really good in that regard. It checks all the boxes. I can, do a couple of setups where I split my guitar signal, come in, can have a microphone plug in. So I need more than two. I may only need two microphone and preamps at the same time, but I need a few line inputs, ideally. Not all the time, but when I need it, I need it. And then the digital connectivity, fantastic. Like I said, headphone output amp, really good. I wish it had two. Antelope Audio, yep. You put in two, that's great. Universal Audio X4, you put in two, but at the huge price tag. And even SSL, yep, you got two. So that's, I think, a missed opportunity on the MOTU. But that's a minor point to me. I can work with one, and then the other maybe small negative would be like that small power / headphone / monitor volume knob. It's a little bit thicker than wider in diameter than a guitar jack, sort of, like, if you want to visualize that. So you have to kind of like twiddly these fingers and stick them out to get to it, especially if something is connected to it. So if you have two guitars plugged in there, you have to go really straight. And I adjust that volume a lot. And somebody said, oh, the increments are so fine that you have to turn that knob a lot. Yeah, well, you can control that also from the software. So, I mean, yes, the form factor kind of like forces that a little bit. It's like a half rack interface. It's not a desktop interface with a big knob on the top. That would be the only drawback that I can see. The QMix software, I really like it. QMix 5, so much simpler than Antelope Audio's software, but also Universal Audio software. You got some basic effects that they're really, really helpful. A gate, a compressor, an equalizer, and reverb. So you can use that to either just monitor on the headphones or a certain set of monitors. It allows you to give you different mixes. Check 1, 2. Here we go. Testing this a little bit. We got some EQ here as well. Can disable these bands. Unfortunately, all just individually. That's fine. And rename this as you wish. This is my preamp 2 input. This is here in the back. It's my headphone mix. This is how they come in. Do this so you can do it with the mouse. It's test. SPDIF optical preamp 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I confused myself. I renamed this as the preamp for my bass. Comes in here for my pedal board, and sometimes I even split the preamp at the board and come in with a DI as well, a non-colored signal. Here are the outs. All right, and now let's bring up the quality. Let's bring up some reverb. See how that sounds. Quite a bit here. We can improve the increased intensity. There's the reverb. Check 1, 2. And here is the reverb. Smaller, medium, large. You can obviously change quite a bit of settings. Damping, pre-delay, decay, width as well. And the reverb itself has an EQ built in, which is very useful. Here is it unfiltered, and so it's way more intense and more natural. But of course, if you mix, then this may be a little bit of an Abbey Road filter here built in. It's less obvious, even at high settings such as here. And I'll probably have it like so. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. So there's a lot of use case scenarios where this thing is great, and without being like this big, convoluted, complex pay-to-play kind of situation that you have with Antelope and Universal Audio, having to buy the plugins and it needs to be validated. No, just give us a mix of software that stays out of the way. So if I don't have it open, everything works. I don't have to worry about it. If I want some added features, I can control it from there for those fairly basic effects. But they are basic, but they are the relevant ones that I may need. All right, so that is my thumbs up for this unit. I think it's hard to beat at this point. Price point $600, yes, but you get a lot. So it leaves the SSL2 Plus far behind. I also think it leaves the Volts behind. Antelope Audio is close, but doesn't have that flexibility. And of course, yeah, you can always go the Universal Audio route with an X4 if you have $2,000 or so laying around. I think it's close competitor to the Babyface Pro FS and maybe also to the Apogee desktop, just got released, but it's on par with them. It is on par with them. Would have to look at some measurements, but from my research, my testing, I opted for these, and those other two were also on my radar. All right, Massivebeatzz out.